This is one chapter from the book Mental Harmony, Its Influence on Life by Grace Brown, also known as Ione, published in 1916. Practical Metaphysics. Do you know this dear old planet is fairly quivering with a great wave of light that is sweeping over it? Call it what you like, words are nothing. But the fact is apparent to every man who has eyes to see and a heart to understand that the light of truth is at last breaking over a weary world. Dear, dear friends, no more sickness, no more sorrow, no more poverty. And do you realize that this wonderful truth is for you if only you will receive it, and will place no barrier between you and its fulfillment? You are to be master. You are to overcome your conditions, and your conditions shall not overcome you. Now let us think about it. And will you be surprised when I tell you that many people are too lazy to think? It is so easy to let things go just as they are, and it certainly requires some effort of the mind to enable a man to grasp the principles that exist as causes in human life. Beware of a rut. Anything but that. Any instrument will wear out if you play on the same string all the time. And the most wonderful instrument ever conceived of, the human body, is no exception to the rule. Possibly you do not realize that your entire body is one grand instrument for thought. The brain of the objective mind is not the only brain you have. Do you know where the solar plexus is, the central sun of the organism? Of course you do. Well, there is the brain or instrument of the subjective mind, just as much as the brain of the head is the instrument of the objective mind. Do you wonder when we speak of what a serious thing it is to oppress the most vital part of your being, when it means sacrificing your soul development to a false idea of beauty? Beauty is important. It is something we should all strive to cultivate. But beauty is freedom. Beauty is truth and harmony. And any departure from harmony is not beauty. All of the body must be free, must at times be entirely exposed to the air and the sunshine. Nature loves freedom. The forest tree must have air enough to breathe and room for its widening roots before it can come into its perfection of life. How much more important that the body shall have breathing room, and yet how we do torture and compress it. One brave man is fighting for freedom for the feet. Dear Father Neep, he knows we must breathe through our feet sometimes if we do keep them in prison most of the time. Metaphysics. What different meanings the word has to different minds? How much depends upon our viewpoint? Let us take the broad view and realize that it relates to the measuring of all philosophy, and understand that the study of metaphysics relates to the art of harmonizing the physical as well as the spiritual man. To be sure, here we are in the midst of all kinds of theories and osophies, isms and creeds, schools which claim to represent the new thought, and yet which feel that they have a corner on the truth and a reserved seat in the front row. Now we are going to look at this new thought, which, by the way, isn't new at all, from the standpoint of a thinking individual. We know that if a thing is true, it must conform and harmonize with everything else that is true, because only that which is truth is everlasting, and all else must fade away. Discrimination is the first round on the ladder, so we will adjust ourselves in this thought of life and light that is so beautiful to the eyes that are open, and soon we shall know for ourselves the way, the truth, and the life. We each have our own individual place in the universe and our own way of traveling. Owls do not know the eagle's path to the sun, but the same fundamental laws of life prevail in each and every one of us, and we can inspire and help each other, thereby helping ourselves all along the way. Let us be practical, and in being practical, we will commence by simplifying things somewhat and coming into an understanding of the realities of life. To begin with, life is meaningless unless we realize that we are a part of that which is. But with that recognition, not only of our own being, but of the law of universal unity as well, what a grand meaning all things instantly possess, and what possibilities of use open before us. There is the great point, use. That is the principle which determines all things. Every force that is constructive is useful. Anything that is not useful will disintegrate, because the force of construction is not there. And every thought, word, and deed carries with it either a destructive or constructive vibration. Now, in our contemplation of use and everyday practical metaphysics, let us take a glimpse of the physical man. We have had so much theory. Let us affirm that the aristocracy of the 20th century shall be distinguished by health and beauty of body, intelligence and harmony of mind and conditions, and then we will prove it. Not only think about it, but solidify that thought into action. It is no longer interesting to be an invalid. The day when people enjoyed poor health and were interesting objects of sympathy is past. And, by the way, do stop condoling with those who are manifesting physical inharmony, and don't go to the other extreme and tell a man he is not suffering when he knows he is. Teach people how to overcome, remove the obstacle. Show your patient the way, and do treat him like a reasonable human being. Remember that each man is different. Each man requires a different chord, for it is attuned to a different key. The man who responds to the chord of G will never be moved if you strike the chord of D in dealing with him. So, you see, you must first reach your patient, become attuned to his vibrations, and when you are in harmony with him, inspire him to overcome his inharmonious condition and be master of himself. No case is hopeless until the soul has left its abiding place for all time. Health, full, free, vigorous, is the demand, and what we demand, knowing it is ours by every law of nature, we shall certainly have. The day we are passing on this planet is but one of many days. Man never steps outside of universal life, but while he is on this planet, he is using for the vehicle of his soul expression an instrument, the superb mechanism of which should be comprehended and used instead of abused, as is too often the case. Now, right here is the study of the law of use. We find a mode of thought whereby we are enabled to grasp the principles that exist as causes and effects in human life and apply them practically in our individual lives. Some people seem to imagine that they can break every law of the Creator and then, by their suggestion, avoid all the consequences or inharmonious result of their vain attempt. For of course no one can break a law. He only attempts to do so. You might just exactly as well throw yourself in front of a moving car and use your suggestion to stop the car or keep your body from being hurt if the car strikes you. It is what the old-fashioned churchmen would call tempting providence. And sometimes these students of the new thought forget to use their common sense in their enthusiasm. How really useful it would be if we students of metaphysics would always use that much neglected quality of common sense in our researches. Not long ago, one of our leading and prominent teachers had an article in her journal on diet. In it, the writer gave this thought that a man can eat anything he pleases, flesh of all kinds, boiled pork and cabbage, in fact, anything, and then treat himself, and it will not affect him. Something like the confessional. Kill your man if you want to, only get to the confessional as soon as possible afterwards, and you are perfectly safe. What I would like to know is, what is the use of filling your body with destructive vibrations and then spending your valuable time in overcoming them? Why not think, live, and act constructively all the time and use your force in a better way? Of course, if a man wishes to make a charnel horse of his stomach, poison his system with the vibrations of fear which infill the stricken creatures whose bodies are his food, that is his privilege. But do not be surprised if disease on all planes attacks him while he is taking into his system those forces that attract disease. Don't think the study of diet has nothing to do with the study of metaphysics, for it really is of vital consequence. Every force you take into your body, every breath you draw, partakes of one of two qualities: construction or destruction, love or fear. Everything you eat and drink, every thought, every action builds you or disintegrates you. Do you not see that your food then is to be carefully chosen, that the chemistry of food corresponds closely to the spiritual alchemy, and that in knowing yourself and the laws of your being, you find the perfect way? These teachers and students of truth who declare they are going to remain in their present bodies forever must remember one law, and that is that like attracts like, and what belongs to them is all they can have. They can remain in the body just as long as they build it with vibrations which construct, but every vibration of fear which enters the organism in any way carries its disintegrating force. The law of the Lord is perfect, and only in perfect life and perfect strength can we overcome the last enemy, which is death. At one of our recent meetings, the question of flesh eating came up, and one student said that she did not understand why man should not have dominion over everything, that she was in the habit of eating 3 square meals a day and eating everything but the dishes. Another student remarked that she would rather eat the dishes than most of the stuff that was put before her. Now you see, it is all lack of understanding. We have spent several years in the study of the chemistry of foods, and before many weeks we'll give you a book on the subject full of recipes and ideas about food. For some housekeepers, it is hard to realize that we can prepare 3 meals a day for 365 days in the year with a different bill of fare each meal, and never use any animal food. But it is true. And we will give you the book which will teach you to do the same, just as soon as it is ready, which we hope will be this coming winter. We believe in 3 square meals a day ourselves, but we believe in the constructive foods, and that the preparing of food is one of the most important acts in the world, and the one that is the least understood. Ah, how we hunger for the fruit which is afar on the hills, and how indifferent we seem to that which is within our reach. Perhaps we are too indolent to grasp it. It is so easy to neglect the common daily duties of life and feel they are beneath our notice, when in their accomplishment lies the great secret that to do the best we know how the work of today leads us towards that work which we love and which is ours. No man is more blessed than he who has found his life's expression in the work that he loves. Indolence, physical and mental, is one of the great barriers to our becoming whole. It is a good deal of trouble to take proper care of the body, to take a breathing exercise and a little physical exercise after it. It is quite an effort to control the mind, and through that control become master of self and your conditions. But it's the sure way. Of course, it is easier to declare you are well anyway. Theories are always easier than practical facts. But today we are talking about practical metaphysics, things that will prove by the result the truth in them. Let me give you an exercise that will interest you by proving to you how it will strengthen and build you physically and spiritually if you care to practice it. After you have taken your morning bath and absorbed from the water the life essence in it, lie down on your back on the floor with hands and arms stretched downward. Then slowly raise the arms straight up in the air without bending the elbows until you touch the floor over your head. Take a deep breath each time you do it and place your mind upon your desire for health and understanding, or whatever may be the desire of your heart. It is a strengthening process to repeat the Lord's Prayer as you in-breathe and raise the arms, and that prayer properly said and rightly understood contains the essence of one's heart's desire. Lead us through temptation into light. Isn't it beautiful? That is the correct version, and what a consciousness of strength comes over us as we realize our prayers are answered and we see this light. Take this exercise 3 times every day. Morning, noon, and just before retiring. You will soon find for yourself an inspiration that you knew not of. In taking any physical culture exercise, remember that through the thought you in-breathe while taking it will come its results. It may give you love and understanding, or it may give you mere brute force. We hear a great deal about physical culture these days, and a fine thing it is too. But I have noticed that some of these magnificent giants who have acquired such marvelous muscle are too small around the waist. The solar plexus is not developed. Too small around the head. The brain of the objective mind is not developed. And also that they have no endurance. Surely, endurance is a proof of harmony. You must develop on all planes equally. The highly developed muscular system must have the strong mind and powerfully developed soul forces, or it is not enduring. Do let us be reasonable. To be sure, people who are weak on any plane are not reasonable. You can't talk philosophy to a man who is starving, or reason with him that his pain is delusion if he has a jumping toothache. Help him to overcome the condition of poverty and the delusion of pain, and then teach him to be reasonable so he won't get into such scrapes anymore. One trouble is that people read too much and turn the thought within too seldom. They eat too much and do not exercise sufficiently, thus creating dyspepsia, both mental and physical. One very useful cure for such people is to inspire them to do something for somebody else. Try to make them realize that therein lies the greatest happiness of life, and happiness is a constructive force. The great enemies of mankind are fear and medicine. Someone said medicine, knives, and hatred. And possibly that is better expressed. And isn't it a cruel thing when we think of it, the awful devastation caused by hate? We know it is all ignorance. All inharmony is the result of ignoring the law, but the time is near at hand when the reign of ignorance is past. Soon we will all come into realization of the law, and we will so vibrate in the law of love that we will love our fellow man into understanding. When we eliminate the qualities of hate and fear from our consciousness, medicine and knives will soon be memories. And you can rest assured of one thing. The man who knows himself will appreciate and take care of his body. It is so strange the idea people have of infinite intelligence. A letter came today from a student in New York. In it he said, I have been an invalid from birth. Have I any right to demand health? Perhaps it's the will of God that I should be ill. Oh, my dear brother, when the will of God is the law itself, and the law is all harmony and love. To be sure, all effect is from some cause, but all can be cured, and every condition that is not harmony can be brought into harmony. While we know that life on this planet is but a small part of the whole, we also know that the opportunity of today does not return. The only thing a man can lose is his opportunity, so he must live in that consciousness of present use. The greatest difficulty is in fastening the interest on the unseen. So many people live in the thought of wonderful pleasures and happiness of some future condition. We are in eternity now. Today is all. There is no past and there is no future in reality. So we must make the highest and best use of the present moment, and the future present moment will be all right. The coming religion is one of optimism and love, success and health. Do smile about things. If they don't please you, smile anyway, and your displeasure will be lessened. The one person I want to avoid is the man or woman who never laughs. He suggests to me all kinds of dreadfulness. Laughter is a disinfectant. It casts out fear, and when fear is cast out, disease and inharmony soon follow. Nothing is more uplifting or more contagious than a sweet, happy smile. The word contagious has so long been applied to disease that we forget good things can be contagious also. There is a reason why we prefer to associate with healthy, happy, successful people. Their harmony is infectious, just as surely as the inharmony of disease or fear is infectious, because it is the fear, not the disease, that is contagious. I wonder if you ever heard how la grippe became an epidemic. It is an interesting proof that it was the microbe of fear and not influenza that caused it. A telegram came from Russia telling about an acute form of influenza that had attacked the royal family, or, as it was expressed, had a grip on them. Within 24 hours, there were 100 cases of la grippe in New York alone. It soon became an epidemic, and until quite recently, la grippe was quite the fashionable way of disintegration. It is a bad habit to think you must have every disease you hear about. Change the vibration of that habit and attract all the good things instead. You are master of yourself if you only realize it, and no intruders can enter your castle unless you permit them. And you know it's much easier to keep bad tenants out than it is to evict them after they have once taken possession. Just be sure of yourself. You know the law. Be positive about it. You feel the power within. Cultivate it, and you will soon cast out all fear. Let me tell you another secret. Be calm. The greatest growth is in the silence. The still, quiet strength is the enduring quality. It is possible to use so much force of will that you destroy instead of construct. The sun rays are our life, and yet sometimes they come with such powerful force that it means destruction. Spiritual light and knowledge, to be practically applied, should be sought for in a calm, dignified manner, and tempered with common sense and reason at the same time. You don't want to seize just one thread and grip it with such force that every other thread is rendered useless. No, you want to polarize yourself and be temperate in all things. Sometimes a man becomes such an extremist in his search for truth that he becomes a gourmand in his aesthetic taste and quite forgets that other people have rights. That means obscuring the very light he is seeking. You know, we have to consider everyone who crosses our path and be considerate as well as forceful. We find the greatest clarifier of the spiritual atmosphere is unselfishness. Knowledge of the finer forces of nature, or the occult philosophy as it is commonly called, gives to man unlimited power, providing, of course, he uses it unselfishly and according to the law. Otherwise, he soon loses his knowledge. Power of overcoming pain, power of overcoming conditions. What is pain, anyway? It is the result of defective advance, uneven development, and monstrous growths. The body suffers when it develops monstrosities of any kind, and its suffering is the warning cry. You do not want to stop the pain until that which causes the pain is arrested in its development. Pain is friendly. It only remains long enough to warn you that something needs attention, and that there is inharmony within. And as soon as you right the condition and equalize once more, the pain leaves. All that is real and eternal is God, and that which emanates from God. And God is all harmony and all truth. The real you exists as a part of that harmony. You have your being in the Supreme Being, and that part of you which is eternal and real can express no discord. All that seems discordant does not belong to you and must be cast out. Your physical body is just as much spirit as any part of you. It only differs in its rate of vibration, which corresponds with Earth's vibration to enable you to manifest upon the planet Earth. The body is yours, a part of you, and expresses God as much as any part of you. Consequently, the body must be infinite life, substance, and intelligence. Emanuel Swedenborg, who gave to the Occidental world its first lessons in practical metaphysics, and who revealed to the modern school of thought the philosophy of vibration, teaches us the law of influx. He places these teachings on a scientific basis that will stand the test of time. According to his teaching, and according to the teachings of our own inner consciousness as well, the human organism is built up on true mathematical principles, as all truth must be. And every part of this organic structure corresponds with and is an expression of interior principles. Now there is the keynote of practical healing through the power of thought. What a comfort it is that truth is infinite, that we are a part of it and one with it. No matter how we may distort it in our ignoring of the law, it is always there. No matter how we may limit our capacity, it rests with each individual man to lay aside all barriers and come into the full, free, glorious light of the truth.